Hello everybody. I'm going to do a quick lesson through video on medication. So this isn't going to be as intensive as the one we did this summer where we went through a lot of different medications. We're just going to do a quick one, and I do have a quiz afterwards. The hope is that I'll be able to take all of you in your cohorts, in your groups, down to Walgreens or CVS, or what, those are the two that we work at. So I would love to be able to go down there with at least a small group of you and see all the medications lined up. But I do have some here at my house that I want to talk about, and I'm going to start with, hold on, let me flip this around. Pain medicines first. So these are pain medicines and fever reducers, okay? Aspirin is just the pain reliever. It doesn't reduce fever, but if you do have, a headache or a muscle ache, you can take this, which is aspirin. So the other three types are ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and naproxen sodium, okay? So naproxen sodium I'll start with. That's the Aleve. That's probably the least popular of the three, but we'll get through all of that. And you have to decide with your parents' assistance. So I'm going to stop right there. And since you are all living at home, that's the most important thing I can stress to you today. That at this point, they are responsible for your health and your well-being. They are the ones that are responsible for your medications. So all of our lessons are going forward for you to live and work as independently as possible. But for now, that's the most important thing, is that if you do have a headache, if you do have a muscle ache, if you do have a cold where you have symptoms, they are the ones responsible for your medication right now. So this is just an overall view on medication. So you are never to take medication without talking to your parent or guardian first, okay? So we're going to go this way. And we have already talked about the Aleve. The naproxen sodium is the generic brand name, or it's actually the medication name. I have the name brand of that, which is Aleve. So the ibuprofen, I actually have both. All right, so I have the Advil, which is the name brand, and I have the Top Care, which is the generic brand. Okay, the generic brand costs less. So it's the same medication. It's still the ibuprofen, as you can see here. It's still 200 milligram tabs, and the Advil is the same, as you can see. And I put this open because the directions are in that. It's still ibuprofen and the 200 milligram tabs. Okay. So the important things to know is on the inside there is a lot of writing, okay? So it goes over what the drug facts are, what it is about the medication, okay? The directions, and that's important. So I'm going to definitely start there. So if you are an adult, 12 years or older, you're supposed to take just one tab every 4 to 6 hours, right? There it is. One tab every 4 to 6 hours. So, and if the pain and fever does not respond to one tablet, you could take 2 tablets may be used, but never exceed 6. So basically, you're going to take one tab, let me move my hand, one tab every 4 to 6 hours. So I always lean towards the later part, the 6 hours. So if you took one at 10 o'clock, you really shouldn't take one again until 4. All right. And this is medication to help you get through with your symptoms. It's not magic. Not like you take it and your headache magically goes away or your muscle ache goes away. It's supposed to help your body fight that. Okay. The last thing you want to do is overtake any medication. So the directions are very, very important. Everything on the bottle is important. Okay. And then, like everything, it tells you how to store the medication. All right. The inactive ingredients, that's basically the colors and things like that they make the pill look pretty, right? So, like I said, overall, these are the same. This one will cost cheaper because it's a generic brand, all right? But basically, they're the same thing, but as you can see, I have both. And then there's acetaminophen, right? Tylenol is the name brand of acetaminophen, okay? And what you have to decide amongst yourselves is, after taking these medications, when you're on your own eventually, or even you can do a little survey while your parents are in charge of your medications like they are now, is I find that Tylenol helps me when I have a headache. but Advil helps me when I have a fever. It just helps me better, all right? So that's why I have both, and we have other people in the house, which is why we have other medications, okay? The same thing goes to stomach meds, or when you have an allergy or if you have a cold, but we'll get to all that in a second. So first with the stomach medications, these are antacids. So if you have an upset stomach, as you can see, you have the name brand in Tums, and then you have the generic brand in Assured. Now these are different. This is an extra strength one with Tums, which is 1,000 milligrams of the antacid, and these are 500. So you would have to take 2 of these for one of those. But yeah, as you can see, I'm not a big stomach med guy. So my other family members do have some issues with that. So we do have a couple of different kinds here, okay? Then the other stomach med is Pepto-Bismol, and we have Imodium. So the Pepto-Bismol is more of a multi-symptom. If you have like a stomach ache with diarrhea or an indigestion or heartburn, you could take Pepto-Bismol with your parents' permission with that. And then Imodium is specifically for diarrhea, okay? And when you have diarrhea, you'll obviously have the gas issues that they help solve. So though it has multi-symptom, this is really designed for diarrhea only, where this is more of an all-inclusive stomach problem, and this is more for just upset stomach, okay? So just like with the pain meds, you want to make sure that you're taking the right med for you, okay? And then the last thing I want to touch on before we get to the quiz is sinus meds, all right? So here I have a Sudafed med, right, that deals with sinus pressure and a sinus headache. And then I have a Benadryl over here and a CVS brand, okay? They're 2 different types of allergy/sinus medicines, and they both deal with the same symptoms, right? Sneezing, itchy watery eyes, runny nose, and itchy throat. And then if you get to here, sneezing, runny nose, itchy watery eyes, itchy nose and throat. So once again, there are 2 different types of medications. They both do the same exact thing. The most important thing with these meds are that you want to just take what your symptoms are. Now, I don't have any cough medicine here, but at the store when we go do that, you can see it, that some cough medicines deal with runny noses as well. But if you just have a cough, you don't want to take that. Some of them say, oh, if you have a fever and a headache, and a lot of those have acetaminophen in it, so you don't want to take a cough medicine that has acetaminophen in it and then take more acetaminophen because you feel you have a headache. Then you're taking too much of this. So it's important not to mix medications. That if you have a cold where you have something that has a fever, another thing is with fever, these are fever reducers, right? All of these meds over here, outside of here, the Aleve, the Advil, the Tylenol, those are the name brands of pain relievers and fever reducers. So when you have a medication like over here, like a Benadryl, this one doesn't, but it may have said, oh, it's a fever reducer too. And if that was on there, you don't want to then take something like in Tylenol or an Advil, because that could be pretty dangerous. So yes, medications are a good thing. They help us get through illnesses. They help us relieve the symptoms. It's not magic. It doesn't make them disappear, all right? But it helps us deal with those and hopefully helps relieve some of the pain or the uncomfort that you feel, all right? But you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you're not taking too much of any medication. Always read the instructions. Always do the right dose. This is why we go through elapsed time as well, is that you want to make sure that if you take a medication that says once every 6 hours, if you take it at 11 o'clock, you can't take it till 5, right? 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock makes it 6 o'clock, 6 hours, correct? So that's why we really stress elapsed time, not only for bus travel or anything like that, but also with, taking medication. So it's an all-inclusive lesson here. So after this, I want you to work with your staff member on taking the test that I posted in Google Classroom, and thank you for your attention.